Again, hi, how's it going? Thank you so much to everyone that's subscribed and liked and commented and just, you guys are the best. You guys are the best. I knew this place was welcoming, but like, you guys just make it so awesome. So thank you so much. So I originally filmed this video a couple of days ago, but in the editing, guys, it was so long. I hope this video doesn't end up being too long. It was so long, we're just gonna have to do it in 2 parts, you know, like it's just a bit much, I think. So what we're going to do is this first half is going to be all the graphic novels I read, because as it turns out, what I filmed was not indeed a wrap-up, but like mini reviews for all of them. Didn't really want to have to refilm everything, so what we're going to do is just refilm this little intro, just give you a bit of context, a bit of you know, information, so that you can proceed with said knowledge. This first half is going to be all the graphic novels, and I really hope you like it, because I had a lot of fun filming this, guys. Trying to condense my thoughts though into like a 1-minute segment for each book. Real tricky, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So let's get to it. So the month of October was a pretty good reading month for me. I felt like I examined what I didn't like about what I read in September and really kind of put steps in place to make sure that October was going to be a good reading month for me. I do not normally read this much. What I thought I would do is put all the books down here for you so you can see all the books I'm going to talk about, and then in the description box below I'm going to put timestamps. So feel free to jump around if there's a book you're interested in or some that you just isn't for you, that's cool, just skip ahead. So in the month of October I read a total of 11 books. I read 6 graphic novels, 1 non-fiction, 1 short story and 3 novels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through them all really quickly to start off with, and then we're going to go into each one in more detail. Like I said, timestamps below, so check out which one you're interested in. My least favourite was The Kite Runner by Khaled, Hosseini. Yeah, the art just wasn't for me. Next we have The Complete Mouse by Spiegelman. This book was very dense and very heavy. The next one we have is Through the Woods by Carroll. I liked the art much better than the words for this one. Next we have Everything is Teeth by Evie, Wyld, and I really enjoyed the art and the setting of this one. Next we have The Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I really loved the art and the characters of this, they just hit me here. Finally, the last graphic novel I read was Blue is the Warmest Colour by Maroh. Man, this one hit me right in the feels. It was so good, so good. I loved it so much. So those are all the books I read. Remember, timestamps down below. Let's get into them one by one. The Kite Runner is the story about friendship between Amir and Hassan. I picked this book up because I had the novel sitting on my shelf for ages with no real desire to get to it. You know when you buy those books and you're just like, I can't remember why I bought this. I know everyone's saying it's great, but like, why? One of my pet peeves about books is when I can see the author. I felt like I could see the author thinking about how they could like emotionally destroy you and just kind of messing with your emotions. I felt really manipulated and I didn't love it all that much. The art style in this book just wasn't for me. I felt like the colors were really bold. There was no real like cohesion or color palette. So I guess when, you know, a book is mostly pictures and you don't like the pictures, it kind of lets down the book for you. I wasn't a big fan of the plot. It was kind of depressing and heartbreaking, but like it kept going, it kept piling it on to the point where it kind of felt a bit unbelievable. Having said that, I thought the graphic novel was a really good way to access the story, especially because you could read it so quickly. Yeah, I finished it in a couple of hours and I feel like I have a good understanding of what that story and the message behind it was trying to be without having to spend, you know, like 12 hours on a novel. This book is great for commitment phobes who maybe don't want to read the whole novel. I would borrow, not buy. Next we have The Complete Mouse. This is a memoir about Vladek Spiegelman and his wife and their time during the Holocaust. Art Spiegelman, the author, is the son, and he writes this novel over a series of interviews with his father. The book that I read was actually a bind-up of the 2 volumes. I picked this one up because it really kind of stands out as almost like a classic. I thought this book was pretty powerful. There was a lot of emotion in this book. You could tell that the author was compelled to write it. In terms of the art style, the book is in black and white. The Jews are portrayed as mice and the Nazis are portrayed as cats. Line drawings, there's not much colour or depth to them. What I didn't like about this book was it's so dense with text that it demands your time and attention. I felt like the pictures, maybe they just weren't used very effectively, or maybe this is just reflecting the change in nature of graphic novels these days, but I felt like the images didn't really contribute all that much other than that visual metaphor. Maybe the text needed to be stripped back a bit. Maybe that's what they were going for, you know, because it is a pretty heavy topic. I'm not exactly sure, but it was too much. In terms of what I liked, it's not the kind of book that you can say you enjoy per se, but I think it was really educational and surprisingly very hopeful. This is the kind of book that everyone should read, or at least be aware of, simply because it reminds us of what not to do as humans, and I think that's an important lesson to learn. Personally, I would borrow, but you can buy it if you are, you know, a graphic novel fiend. Next we have Through the Woods. This book is a collection of creepy short stories. They reminded me of like those old school moral based fairy tales. This one has done the rounds on BookTube, and I picked it up based on the countless number of recommendations. This book was a joy to read. I felt like this book does what graphic novels are supposed to do. The art style has a very restricted colour palette, and I think that works very effectively. Also, there's beautiful, you know, one-page spreads, and you can definitely see how the art and the text work together to create a story. I loved the use of colour in this. I thought it was really good. I liked that kind of creepy undertone and that the similar sort of structure to fairy tales. I thought that was really good. I thought the way they tied in the woods and the woods as a character, very interesting. What I didn't like, I felt like the art was better than the text, but overall really very enjoyable reading experience. If you enjoy beautiful objects with a spooky vibe, you are going to love this book. I would probably borrow this one, or if you're really feeling fancy, you could buy it, especially if you love having beautiful books in the home. Next we have Everything is Teeth. This is a memoir by Evie and her time in Australia and the UK and her preoccupation with sharks. I love the atmosphere that is created in this book. The art style is something that really appealed to me. I loved the contrast between the almost line art of everyday life and the depth that the sharks have. I loved the restricted colour palette. I thought that worked really well. What I liked, I thought that the text and the images worked really well together. I loved the depiction of Christmas in this. It was something that I could relate to, one that is hot and sticky and full of prawns and wilting salads and jumping in the pool in between fistfuls of chocolate coins and Super Dupers. It was just home. It was perfect. I felt like the ending was a little odd, but I think that's because she's like still alive and therefore her story isn't finished. It doesn't resolve in a way that you would expect a fiction novel to. If you like graphic memoirs and you're interested in Australia, then probably pick this one up. I personally would borrow this one, mainly because it's so short. It is beautiful though, so maybe buy. Next is The Complete Persepolis. This tells the story of Persepolis from her childhood in Iran through to her adulthood. This is actually a bind-up of 2 books. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I felt like I learnt a lot without it being really preachy. The art style, it's black and white, it's line art, it's very simple. She uses a mixture of kind of bold images and more stark images. I felt that was really good. As a non-religious person, I really enjoyed the depiction of her relationship with God. I thought that was really beautiful. I really admired how fierce our protagonist is. So even though you as a reader are reading these like unfair things, she's also there within the novel saying, "Oi, this is rubbish." So I really like that. I also like that she doesn't really shy away from her mistakes either. She's not a perfect human being. She definitely has her fair share of, you know, messing stuff up. But I thought that was really well balanced. One of my favorite things about this book is the depiction of family and especially her relationship with her parents. I love her parents. I love her parents so much. What I didn't like, again, with the weird ending, it just kind of stops. But that makes sense, again, because she's still alive. If you really like graphic memoirs, if you're interested in getting a different perspective of culture and life in the Middle East, if you love seeing positive family relationships in books, this one is for you. You should definitely pick it up. Definitely read this one if you can. Buy a copy, even better. Next we have Blue is the Warmest Color. This is the story of Clementine who falls in love with a girl with blue hair. It's set in France in the 90s. I want to say the 90s. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. This book was also made into an award-winning movie, but I haven't seen it. The book had me in tears, but really I have no excuse because you're prepared for it from the first page. You know how it's gonna end, and it just rips your heart out. It just rips it out. The art style in this is so good. Mostly black and white, but there is blue in there as well. It's just gorgeous. There's nothing that I would change about this book. It wasn't clunky, it flowed really well, and you care for them deeply. I couldn't believe how attached I was to these two people, given that my reading time was, you know, an hour. Also will destroy you, just FYI. If you like a beautiful story about complicated relationships, of coming of age, of being true to yourself, if you're really into like stunning, almost watercolor art style, this is your dream book. Do yourself a favor and read this book. It does get a little explicit, so maybe don't read it on a peak hour train. Other than that, just read it. Read it, read it, read it. Read it. So that was my October wrap up for graphic novels. What do you think? Do you dislike some of these books? Do you agree? Do you disagree with what I've said? Ooh, controversy. Anyway, just have a chat with me in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to just seeing what you guys have got to say and, you know, making this a bit of a two-way communication. Don't forget to check out the second half of this video, which is all the books without pictures that I read in the month of October. So click on over. Hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching. Love you guys so much. You just, you're the best. You are the best. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Sending out all the love to anyone crazy enough to be doing NaNoWriMo. You know, just keep at it, guys. Keep at it. You got this. I believe in you. You're awesome. And everyone else who's not doing NaNoWriMo, you're still awesome. You just keep doing what you're doing and don't feel pressured by how many words are you supposed to be writing? That's like insane.